There are more questions tonight about the future of Twitter. The world's richest man and largest individual shareholder of the company backed out of plans to join its board of directors. But that means he is now free to expand his stake even further. Twitter CEO released a note to staff saying this in part: there will be distractions ahead, but our goals and priorities remain unchanged. The decisions we make and how we execute is in our hands and no one else's. I don't know about that. So let's bring in to discuss Casey Newton. He's the founder and editor of the Platform News and contributing editor to The Verge. Casey, you know this man very well, Elon Musk. A lot of people saw the news that he wasn't joining the board and they were relieved, saying like, he's not going to shake things up. But isn't the exact opposite going to happen as a result of him not joining the board? He's got a bigger stake than anyone.
That's exactly right. And not only that, but he's no longer bound by the rules he had agreed to as a precondition joining the board. You know, normally when someone of a company have to pledge to honor the fiduciary responsibilities of the shareholders. And then, of course, immediately after saying he would do that, Elon began tweeting all sorts of crazy things. So now he can sort of keep on doing that and won't have to worry about shareholder lawsuits.
So now is he going to be getting everything he wants? He's a huge shareholder, and he will use Twitter, the platform, to push all of his demands, to hate tweet at them as much as he wants, and get the millions of people who follow him all wound up. Isn't this his dream outcome?
It seems that way to me, but I think it's worth noting that we don't really know what Elon wants. I think the best theory of the case that I've heard is that this is the world's richest man simply trying to have some fun. He clearly loves using Twitter. I think the idea that he'd want to own a huge chunk of it and sort of make it more fun for him personally to use makes a lot of sense. But what does he want beyond that? Is there a financial outcome that he's looking for? Does he want to own a lot more of the company than he does now? These are all still big question marks. And so far, Elon hasn't really said anything about it.
Does it seem like this is an investment he's looking to make money on, or is this an investment he's using as a disruptor? I mean, he has an awful lot of fun on Twitter as is.
He does. And, you know, what's interesting is when Elon Musk likes something, the stock price just goes up. So, you know, on paper, I think he's already made about $1 billion on his investment into Twitter. For most investors, that would be an incredible outcome. For Elon, it's just kind of another day in the market. So, you know, he remains a fascinating figure, but I think not one that many of us fully understand.
Any reason to believe the SEC is taking issue with how he acquired this stock and the time frame in which he did?
There is. You know, if you acquire 5% of a public company, you're supposed to file something with the SEC letting people know, sort of giving other shareholders a heads up about what's happening. Elon didn't do that. He filed behind schedule. And as a result, the Washington Post reported that he'd been able to acquire his shares in Twitter at what wound up being a discount of $156 million. So that is the sort of thing that the SEC generally takes an interest in. And I think it will be somewhat surprising if he doesn't face at least some kind of fine for the way that he went about this.
Question will be, will the fine be greater or less than $156 million? Most likely less than. Casey, great to have you, an Elon Musk expert in the house.